Derek Harrison had come to the remote lake in northern Canada for one reason: solitude. After 3 years working in the chaos of Toronto's tech sector, he needed silence, needed space to think. The cabin his uncle left him was perfect, isolated, surrounded by pine forests, and sitting on the edge of a crystalline lake that reflected the sky like polished glass. He'd been there for 2 weeks, falling into a peaceful routine of morning hikes, afternoon reading, and evening fishing. The world felt far away, and that was exactly what he needed. That morning started like any other. Derek grabbed his fishing rod and tackle box, planning to try the spot near the western shore where he'd seen trout jumping the day before. The early morning mist still clung to the water's surface, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that made him feel like the only person on Earth. He was halfway around the lake when he heard it, a scream that shattered the morning silence. "Sir, please." "Someone just stole my clothes." Derek froze. The voice was female, panicked, and came from somewhere ahead through the trees. His first instinct was confusion. There shouldn't be anyone else out here. This was private property, and the nearest neighbor was 15 miles away. Then his protective instincts kicked in. Someone was in trouble. He dropped his fishing gear and ran toward the voice, crashing through the underbrush. "Hold on, I'm coming," he shouted. "Please hurry." The voice called back, and there was something odd about it. An accent he couldn't place, a musical quality that seemed almost not quite human. Derek burst through the tree line and stopped dead in his tracks. The lake opened before him, the water perfectly still in this sheltered cove. And there, about 30 feet from shore, was a woman treading water. But she wasn't just any woman. Her skin was a deep navy blue, almost iridescent in the morning light. Her hair, soaking wet and plastered to her head and shoulders, was a striking platinum blonde that seemed to glow against her azure skin. Her eyes, even from this distance, were large and luminous, a shade of silver purple he'd never seen before. She was absolutely, impossibly alien, and absolutely, undeniably real. You're, Derek stammered. "Please," she said, her voice trembling. "I know how I must look to you, but I desperately need help. Someone took my clothing while I was bathing. I cannot leave the water like this." Derek's mind raced. This couldn't be real. Aliens didn't exist, except one was clearly floating in the lake in front of him, looking terrified and vulnerable. He forced himself to focus. Whatever she was, she needed help. Okay, he said, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. "Just stay there, I'll figure something out." He quickly turned his back to her, giving her privacy. "I'm Derek, what's your name?" "Lyrie," she replied, her voice still shaky. I was exploring your world when my scout vessel malfunctioned. I've been stranded here for 2 days, and this morning I thought it safe to bathe in this isolated place. But someone came and took everything: my clothing, my communication device, my survival pack." Derek's protective instincts flared even stronger. Someone had deliberately stolen from a stranded, vulnerable person. Alien or not, that was despicable. "Stay right there," he said firmly. "I'm going back to my cabin. It's just over that ridge. I'll bring you something to wear and we'll figure this out." "You would help me." Lyrie's voice was filled with disbelief and hope. "Even though I am not of your kind?" Derek glanced back over his shoulder, careful to keep his eyes averted. "You're in trouble and you need help. That's all that matters." He ran back to the cabin faster than he'd moved in years, his mind spinning. An alien, a real alien. Stranded on Earth, robbed while bathing, and apparently trusting him to help her. The responsibility was staggering, but there was no way he could walk away. In his cabin, Derek grabbed the largest sweatshirt he owned, a pair of sweatpants with a drawstring and some thick socks. He threw them in a waterproof bag along with a large towel, then ran back to the lake. "Lyrie," he called out as he approached the cove. "I'm back. I'm going to leave these clothes on that flat rock near the water, then I'll turn around and go back into the trees. Take your time." "Thank you, Derek," she said, and there was such genuine gratitude in her voice that it made his chest tighten. He placed the bag on the rock, then retreated into the forest, putting his back to the lake. He heard splashing, then quiet movements as she dressed. Several minutes passed. "I am decent now," Lyrie called softly. Derek turned around and had to catch his breath all over again. Even wearing his oversized gray sweatshirt and baggy sweatpants, Lyrie was stunning. Her navy blue skin seemed to shimmer slightly, like she was dusted with microscopic crystals. Her platinum hair was already starting to dry, forming soft waves that framed her face. Her features were delicate but distinctly alien. Eyes slightly too large, cheekbones higher and more pronounced, lips a darker shade of blue. She was hugging herself, looking small and lost in his clothes, her bare feet pale blue against the dark earth. "Thank you," she said again, meeting his eyes. "Your kindness means more than you can know. On my world, to help a stranger so freely is considered the highest honor." Derek walked closer, trying to keep his expression calm and reassuring. "On my world, too. Well, it should be anyway. Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Lyrie shook her head. "Physically, I am unharmed. But without my equipment, I cannot contact my ship or my people. I am alone here." Her silver-purple eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You're not alone," Derek said firmly. "Not anymore. Come on, let's get you back to my cabin. You must be freezing." Actually, he realized she wasn't shivering at all, despite the cool morning air and her wet hair. Interesting. They walked back together, and Derek found himself glancing at her constantly. She moved with an unusual grace, her steps light and precise. When they reached the cabin, she paused at the doorway, looking at him questioningly. "Please come in," Derek said, gesturing inside. "This is my place. You're safe here." Lyrie stepped inside and looked around with evident curiosity. Her gaze took in the rustic wooden interior, the stone fireplace, the simple furniture. "It is very warm," she said. "Not in temperature, but in feeling. It feels like a home." "Thanks," Derek said, suddenly seeing his temporary refuge through her eyes. "It was my uncle's. He left it to me. Listen, are you hungry? Can you eat Earth food?" "I can," Lyrie said. "Our biology is similar enough to yours that most organic matter is compatible, though I may react strangely to some of your seasonings." Derek found himself smiling despite the surreal situation. "I'll keep the spices mild then. Sit, please. You've had a rough morning." As he made breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and fruit, Lyrie sat at the kitchen table and began to tell her story. She was from a world called Celestia, located in a star system hundreds of light years away. Her people, the Celestians, were explorers and scientists, peacefully studying other worlds and civilizations. Was a cultural researcher," she explained, accepting the plate Derek offered with a grateful nod. "I study how different species develop art, music, social bonds." Earth's diversity fascinated me. I requested permission to conduct close observations. "And they just let you come here alone?" Derek asked, sitting across from her with his own breakfast. Lyrie's expression turned sad. "I was not supposed to be alone. My partner researcher was with me, but 3 days ago he took our primary shuttle and left. He said he could not tolerate the isolation, the primitive conditions. He abandoned me here with only a small scout vessel. She took a bite of eggs and her eyes widened. This is delicious. Derek felt anger burning in his chest. He just left you, that's dishonorable, Lyrie finished quietly. Yes, and when my scout vessel malfunctioned yesterday, I realized how truly alone I was. I thought I could repair it, but I need components I cannot manufacture. And now, without my communication device, I cannot even call for help. What about your people? Won't they come looking for you? Eventually, she said. But I was scheduled to be here for 6 more months. They will not expect to hear from me until then. She set down her fork, her shoulders slumping. I am stranded on an alien world, Derek, completely dependent on the kindness of a species I was supposed to be studying from a distance. Derek reached across the table, and after a moment's hesitation, gently touched her hand. Her skin was smooth, slightly cooler than human, and that same subtle shimmer seemed to pulse under his fingertips. Then I guess you'll be studying humanity up close, he said with a small smile. Starting with one slightly hermit-like software developer who talks to himself too much and can't cook anything fancier than scrambled eggs. Lyrie looked at their hands, then up at his face, and for the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. It transformed her features, making her luminous. I think, she said softly, that you may be the finest example of humanity I could hope to encounter. Over the following days, an unexpected routine developed. Derek helped Lyrie settle into the cabin's small guest room. They established a comfortable rhythm. He would make breakfast while she studied his books, learning more about Earth. Afternoons were spent together, sometimes hiking the forest trails, sometimes sitting by the lake talking about their vastly different worlds. Derek learned that Celestia had 3 moons, that Lyrie had a younger brother she missed terribly, and that her favorite thing about Earth was the smell of pine trees after rain. Lyrie learned that Derek had left his high-pressure job after a burnout, that he loved old science fiction novels, and that he'd come to the cabin to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. And have you figured it out? Lyrie asked one evening as they sat on the cabin's porch watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold and crimson. I'm starting to, Derek admitted. Being here away from all the noise and pressure, it's helped me remember what actually matters, connection, purpose, helping others. He glanced at her. Meeting you has kind of reinforced that. Lyrie tilted her head, a gesture he'd learned meant she was curious. How so? Because helping you feels more meaningful than anything I did in 3 years at my old job, he said honestly. You needed someone, and I could be that person. That matters. You matter, Derek, Lyrie said quietly. You have given me safety when I had none, friendship when I was alone, and hope when I had lost it. She paused. On my world, we have a saying, the heart recognizes home not by familiar walls, but by familiar souls. Their eyes met, and something shifted between them, something neither of them had names for yet, but both of them felt. The moment was interrupted by a sound in the distance, an engine growing closer. They both stood alert. Visitors were unheard of out here. Stay inside, Derek said, but Lyrie shook her head. If someone is coming, we face them together. A battered pickup truck came into view, rolling down the dirt road that led to the cabin. It stopped, and a grizzled man in his 60s climbed out, eyeing them both with undisguised curiosity. Well, well, the man said, his gaze fixed on Lyrie. Heard rumors someone unusual was wandering these woods, didn't believe it until now. Derek stepped slightly in front of Lyrie. This is private property. Who are you? Name's Garrett. I live about 15 miles south. His eyes never left Lyrie. That's quite a costume, miss. Must be for one of them internet videos or something. It's not a costume, Lyrie said calmly, stepping forward to stand beside Derek. I am Celestian, not of this world. Garrett laughed, but it had a nervous edge. Right, and I'm the King of England. His expression turned calculating. You know, there's folks who'd pay good money to see something like this, real good money. Derek felt ice in his veins. She's not a sideshow attraction. You need to leave, now. Or what? Garrett's hand moved to his belt where Derek spotted a hunting knife. Look, I don't want trouble, just want to talk business. You two could make a fortune if you play this right. I said leave, Derek repeated, his voice hard. Garrett's eyes narrowed. Maybe I'll just tell the authorities there's some kind of illegal immigrant situation up here, or maybe I'll tell the media. Either way, you can't keep her hidden forever. Lyrie moved closer to Derek, and he could feel her trembling slightly. Not with fear, he realized, but with anger. You are the one who stole my belongings, she said, her voice tight. I recognize your scent now. You took my equipment while I was vulnerable. Garrett had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. Figured it was valuable. Weird tech, strange materials. Thought I could sell it. That equipment was my only way to contact my people, Lyrie said, and there was such pain in her voice that Derek wanted to punch the man in front of him. You have stranded me here even more completely than I already was. Yeah, well, finders keepers, Garrett said with a shrug. Now we going to talk business or not? Derek made a decision. Wait here. He went inside the cabin and emerged moments later with his phone. I'm calling the county sheriff. Theft, trespassing, and threatening behavior. Let's see how your business proposition sounds to them. Garrett's expression turned ugly. You don't want to do that, boy. I've lived in these parts for 40 years. I know every cop, every judge. They'll listen to me, not some city boy and his blue girlfriend. Try me, Derek said coldly. For a long moment, the two men stared at each other. Then Garrett spat on the ground. Fine, keep your freak show, but you can't hide her forever. This'll get out eventually. He climbed back in his truck and drove away, leaving a cloud of dust. Derek turned to Lyrie, who was staring after the truck with an expression of profound sadness. That is what I feared most, she said quietly. That my presence here would bring you trouble, that humans would see me as something to exploit or fear rather than simply another living being. Hey, Derek said gently, touching her shoulder. Not all humans are like him. Most people are good, Lyrie. He's just one of the bad ones. But he is right about one thing, she said, turning to face him. I cannot stay hidden forever. Eventually, my presence will be discovered, and when it is, you will be caught in the consequences. I should leave, try to survive on my own until my people come. Absolutely not, Derek said firmly. We're in this together now. We'll figure something out. Why? Lyrie asked, her silver-purple eyes searching his face. Why risk so much for someone not of your kind? Derek realized the truth as he spoke it. Because you're not just someone not of my kind anymore. You're Lyrie, you're my friend, and maybe. He hesitated, then pushed forward. Maybe you're becoming something more than that. Lyrie's breath caught. Derek, You don't have to say anything, he said quickly. I know this is complicated. Different species, different worlds. But these past weeks with you have been the happiest I've been in years. You make me want to be better, do better. And if that means protecting you from guys like Garrett or figuring out how to help you contact your people or even just making sure you have a safe place to stay, then that's what I'll do. Slowly, carefully, Lyrie reached up and touched his face with her cool, shimmering hand. On my world, we believe that souls find each other across any distance, any barrier. I did not think I would find such a connection on this planet, but I have found it with you. Derek covered her hand with his own. What happens when your people come for you? I do not know, Lyrie admitted. But I know that 6 months suddenly feels both too long and not nearly long enough. They stood there on the porch as the last light faded from the sky, two beings from different worlds who had found something precious in each other, something worth protecting, worth fighting for. We'll figure it out, Derek said finally. Together. Together, Lyrie agreed, and in her voice was hope, determination, and something that sounded very much like love. The road ahead was uncertain. There would be more challenges, more people like Garrett, more complications neither of them could yet imagine. But as they stood there in the gathering darkness, hands intertwined, human and celestian, Derek knew one thing for certain. He had come to this isolated cabin looking for solitude and clarity. Instead, he had found Lyrie, and in finding her, he had found his purpose, his home, and perhaps his future. Some things, he realized, were worth any risk, any challenge. Some connections transcended species, planets, and stars. And sometimes, the greatest adventures began with a simple cry for help across the water.